What's up, everybody? Welcome to Coast Life. I'm Kos, and I want to talk to you guys today about how Islamic extremism actually is just regular Islam. I know I'm going to catch a lot of flack for this, and it is a controversial topic, but I think it really needs to be touched upon, especially with what's going on in today's society. Um, First of all, people always point to Christianity and the First Crusade, and they always say, "Oh, you see how crazy evil Catholics sent all these warriors down to the Israel to rape and conquer the poor Muslims down there. Look what Christianity did in the Middle Ages. People always like to compare the Crusades. Ever since Bill Clinton mentioned it, back in the 90s, whenever that's when everyone's been fixated on. Well, the truth is, if you look at a map of the First Crusade, and I'm gonna show you, um, the map actually depicts that all of the Middle East, all of North Africa, and heading into Spain actually was all conquered by Muslims. Muslim armies since the time of Muhammad, around the middle of like 600, whenever Muhammad was around, he conquered by force, which is different than Christianity. Christianity spread through the words of Paul, the apostle, who wrote letters to the Corinthians, to the Romans, the Greeks. He could speak Greek, he could speak the native tongue of a lot of pagans, so he could convert a lot of them. Christianity spread peacefully. Islam spread through war, which fine. We'll brush that aside for now. But Islam had been spreading rapidly. And again, if you look at the map, it shows how all the Middle East, North Africa was taken over, and they started heading up into Europe, into Spain. And that's a little scary for Europeans during that time. You got to remember, most of Europe was Christian. It was split down the middle. It was the Western Church, which was the Roman Catholic Church, and then it was the Eastern Church, which was the Greek Church. And when the Pope saw that Islam had been rapidly advancing into Europe, he figured these people are going to take over the world, just like they've done in the Middle East and Africa, and they're coming. They're coming for us. So the Pope said, this might be a good way to unite the churches, the West and the East, finally. And let's just have a joint cause and go fight these Muslims. And that's what they did. So it was a pushback toward the rapid advancement of Islam invading Europe, kind of like they're doing today. I mean, you can't deny Islam is invading Europe. It's totally being overrun, infiltrated. Example, the population of Europe, of native Europeans, white Christian native Europeans, is dwindling, right? They're having kids less. Muslims are moving in, and they have like 7 kids. So do the math. It doesn't take a genius to figure out that in like 20 years, there's going to be way more Muslims than there is native Europeans in Europe. That's a pretty scary thought. The second point I wanted to make was that the Ottoman Empire, Muslim, had control of half of Europe for over 400 years. My family's Greek, and we celebrate our Independence Day from the Ottomans and the Turks. So for 400 years, Greece was taken over by Muslims. So right there, if you look at the map again, I'll show you. Look at the spread of the Ottoman Empire. Look how huge it got. Again, this is not just me making things up. This has actually happened. Islam had been conquering and invading and spreading by force since the beginning. Third point is that every Muslim is not a terrorist, and every Muslim is not a bad person. I've been to the Middle East, I've been to Turkey. My family is from Turkey, actually. We're Greek, but we're from Turkey. So, they were exiled after, when World War I happened, and they got kicked out into Greece. But they were Greeks living within Turkey. So my family is from there, and I've been to all over the Middle East, and the people are so hospitable, beautiful, wonderful, gorgeous people, the nicest people. They'll give you the shirt off their back. But the problem I found throughout the Middle East when I asked is that they all despise Israel. They hate Israel. They don't think Israel should exist as a state. They don't see it as a legitimate country. Ask any Muslim, I bet you, put $10 million on it. You'll struggle to find one Muslim that actually thinks Israel should exist as a state. I'm just saying the facts. Every single Muslim I ever knew despises Israel. And I can't wrap my head around that. Israel is this one little speck of democracy, one little speck of Western culture and freedom in this vast sea of the Middle East, which is all Muslim. So you got this one little Jewish, tiny little speck of land. If you ever saw Israel, it's just nothing. And it's surrounded by Muslim countries. Every other country and there's Muslims in Israel too. So for God's sake, it's just they want to kill this tiny speck of Judaism and vanquish it when they have all that. It's that's not enough. All that's not enough. They need that too. Oh, because it's the Holy Land, it's the holy city. So I'm gonna, Hamas is what resides in Palestine and Israel, right? That's the main organization that leads that area. These people, this is a terrorist organization. Hamas, if you support Palestine, you support terrorism. That's it. Case closed. You support Hamas, you support terrorism. Hamas straps fucking little bombs on little babies and sends them into the marketplace and detonates them, to make them look like they're not threatening. So that, who cares about the little kid in the marketplace, right? Uh-oh. Now the kid's exploding. He's detonated, by some coward hiding, a mile away or whatever. So, this is the tactics they use. These are the tactics that the poor Palestinians use. They use suicide bomb children. Gee, that's great, that's something I would side with. Another point is, all Muslims, again, don't hate gay people or think that homosexuals should be executed, but a lot of them sure do. And it's the vast majority that do think this. The vast majority, of Muslim countries have these backward Sharia-type laws. Excuse me. Look at Saudi Arabia. And, Bill Maher, who I don't agree with ever, really. Even he said, they execute people in Mecca. In Mecca, which is the city of, Muhammad. That's the epicenter. Saudi Arabia is where all the major events of the Quran take place, basically. And, to have someone get beheaded because they spoke blasphemy or they're gay or whatever, to have them executed in the square in the middle of Mecca, which is where every Muslim has to make a pilgrimage to at least once in their life, in Mecca, right? Every Muslim, both radical and moderate, have to go to Mecca at least once in their life. That is what Islam, tells you to do. So that means there would be some moderate Muslim coming to Mecca for his pilgrimage to witness a beheading one day. Whoa, wait, what's this guy getting? What did he get in trouble for? Oh, he's gay, or oh, he's an atheist, so we're chopping his head off now. Oh my God. So you're telling me in the main place where you all congregate, where your religion, the epicenter of your religion, there's people getting executed for being gay or being blasphemous. What the hell? How can you co-sign that? How can you be okay with that in any way, shape, or form? It's insane. It's absolutely insane. That would be, like what I was saying with Bill Maher, he even said, that would be like the Pope in the Vatican Square executing people, right? The epicenter of Catholicism, such as Mecca is the epicenter of, Islam. That would be like seeing the Pope ordering someone's head to be cut off in the middle of the Vatican Square because they were gay. I mean, people say, oh, Islam needs reformers. They need reformers. Well, if that was the case, then, it'd have been reformed by now. Apparently, it can't be done. It's too ingrained in these cultures. In these, Saudi Arabia is a theocracy. These places are theocracies. These are run by religious leaders. Iran, religious leaders run the place, So there's really is no ifs, ands, or buts. The main point, though, and this is key, is that the Quran, is a literal, word-for-word translation from Allah to Muhammad. Correct? It is the exact wording in Arabic. If you look at the Quran in Arabic, the exact wording is supposedly directly from the lips of Allah. That would mean there is no room for interpretation. It's not like the Bible. People always say, oh, well, there's violent verses in the Bible. Yeah, but the Bible was written by men, inspired by the Holy Spirit. That's what they say. It's written by men, inspired by God, inspired by the Holy Spirit. It's not a literal, direct message from Allah, as the Quran is. Arabic is the holy tongue, is the perfect language that God used to speak to Muhammad. So therefore, that's the best language, and that's the only way that the Quran can be, read authentically and in its originality. So they consider translations of the Quran not really, on point, so to speak. So if they take it literally, see, this is the main problem with Islam, is that they consider this book a literal message from God, straight from his lips. It's not like the Bible, which, it can be interpreted different ways because it's inspired by the Holy Spirit and men wrote it. It's not the same thing. This is a word-for-word, literal message from God. That's why it's so easy to get radicalized and be a fundamentalist in Islam, because if you believe that your book was a direct message from God and not just an interpretation or symbolism or whatever, you'd be a lot more inclined to, wage a holy war, right? I mean, these are just facts I'm saying. I'm not trying to, again, I love Muslims, but I'm not too crazy about Islam. And I think that's totally fair. I don't think that's wrong to say. I can love a man, but still hate his lifestyle. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, people who are like drug addicts, I'm not going to, I hate what you do, but I don't hate you if you're my friend, right? It's just how I see it. I mean, put your own, opinion in it, but honestly, most Muslim countries are backward. So there you have it, guys. The majority of, Muslim countries are bad, and majority of Muslim people are not, but they still sympathize with Palestinians. They still sympathize with Hamas. They still have a disdain and general dislike for the West, our way of life. The point is, Islam is totally contradictory to our culture and our way of life. So there you have it. Say what you want, but it's the truth. So I'm gonna have a lot more videos coming, so get ready, everybody. It's gonna be a ride. So I hope you can join me, and it'll be fun. So take care. Have a good one.